Hey Becca, just recording a quick video describing all the stuff that I sent you. Basically, we're going to go over this section here, version 2, and I'm going to show you the prototypes and how they work. So in this section, we have this part up here called local components. You can ignore this, but this is basically the building blocks that I use to create all of this. You'll notice that all of this is stuff from the data table, but there's two new things here. There's a search bar and there's a switch, which like I'm sure we have a switch somewhere in our system. If not, you can easily make one. And the search bar is based off a past component that I just made slightly different to fit this use case. And then in this section, we have four prototypes. So this one is idea one percentages. This one's idea two overview shell. This one's idea three original rollup proposal, and this one is the performance by org table. So I'll go through each of these in the prototyping mode, and then I can note any important things over here, such as this. I will explain what this is. So if we go to our prototypes, you'll see on the left-hand side, I've put the old prototypes down here and marked them as deprecated, so you can just ignore these two. And if we go down one by one, the first one is the percentages. So this is the one that you've seen before, where if you can click on it, the total, this, if I restart, right, the total is 149,630. If I were to click on it, then the total breaks down and it shows a percentage makeup for each one. So L1 org now has its own standalone value, and it's reflected across the spend for all of the suppliers. And so what I did is I double checked the math across all of these so that they're accurate, so that, this breakdown is accurate, this breakdown is accurate. Same goes for when you expand L2. This breakdown is also accurate. Um, and essentially, this is just to give you realistic numbers to work with if you test these. The only thing I didn't do is like update the ratings area because that would have been so much more work. I can do that though if requested, but essentially the ratings will just show the standalone rating for that org with the amount of reviews that they gotten. But if it's something like, um, you know, a roll up situation, then it will reflect all the ratings and reviews for everything in that org and parent and children. So you've seen that before. You've seen the nested orgs things before, but I'll just show again. If you click on it, then anything that has parent-child is ripped out of that and shown explicitly. So if I were to, let's say, expand these, if I were to click on this, they all just become their own org here. And then if we have this last part is this search bar. So if I were to restart, and you restart a prototype pressing R, it's a quick tip. And let's say I were to click on this, right? It's that little text cursor. I'm gonna hit the key 3, and when I do that, it's gonna show, like, let's pretend we typed in L3, right? What'll happen is that L3, the parent will expand and show that, show expand up to the point where you could see the org being highlighted. So in this situation, I didn't show what it looks like to highlight because I have a separate prototype that I've shown you before that does that. But this org here will be highlighted. Um, and then if there's multiple, then all of those will be highlighted as well. And in this situation, this is a filter search. So I know there was a suggestion of maybe having like jump to. So instead of like filtering out all the other orgs, it's like jumping to things, kind of like search results on a page and stuff. Um, we can do that. It's just that it would require like, it wouldn't be hard to design. It's just like a new component. But if that's easier for the devs, then we could totally do that. And then if you clear it, you just press X and just resets. Now, if I were to do this again, and let's say I put in an entry that doesn't exist, like I do L4, so I'm going to hit the 4 key, you'll see that because there's no org call L4 here, then it'll just say no results found. So I think it's pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, let me know. And that's the first prototype. The other ones will go by faster because you've already seen like the nested org stuff. All that's functional. The search one is not. But essentially, this is the same thing. The shell, um, all the numbers are updated to reflect the correct amounts. Same with rollup. all the numbers are updated. This is essentially the percentages one without showing the percentage. Um, but yeah, I think that's basically everything for these spin by org prototypes. Before I go to performance by org, let me just jump to hovered prototype. You've seen this before, and this is an old prototype, but you can kind of see what it looks like if you were to hover over a row. If you were to click on a row, then it's outlined. If you move away and you hover over something else, now this one still has that outline state, but this one now has a hover effect, and so on and so forth. So this like select state here is what you'll probably see when you are when you're here. Like it might select this. It'll probably select the first result that pops up. So like let's say you have multiple orgs that say L3 in them. A more realistic use case might be like city of um, Massachusetts or San Diego or so on. Then city of, there'll be a bunch of those here. And the first of those lists, like city of San Diego, would be outlined. And then, of course, if you click on a different org, that's selected, has an outline. If you hover over, you get that blue state, etc. So, okay, going into performance by org, this is the last one. This is a lot of the same, but with a couple different things. First off is that we do have the search and the nested orgs here. And just to show what that looks like, you can just click this, and you'll see that all of them exit the parent-child relationship and show up right here. And then it returns that way. If you were to turn the nested org back on, the parent-child goes back into it. But it'll still remain expanded because that's like the view that we had before. So you want to know like where all those orgs ended up going once you hit nested orgs. Another small note is that we talked to the devs and how they said sometimes the parent, like state of Massachusetts here, doesn't have data in it. So therefore, like it'll say NA here for average org rating or like 0 reviews. If I collapse it, it's like a summary of those things, right? If I expand it, it has nothing of its own. So it's kind of like the roll-up situation. Um, but like this one doesn't have any parent data. Um, yeah, and then the search, I didn't implement it here because it's the exact same thing as it is in percentages. So the only other thing that I wanted to point out in this section is that if you were to go, let's say I were to click on like Department of Developmental Services, right? This is all the same still. One note is that these tools up here can't really be applied to this, right? I'm not going to search for an organization within an org's details panel. There's no orgs to nest or unnest here. And the same applies actually to spin by org, where like, you know, if I click into executive office or something, and you see that stuff like if you see that, let me grab, go to design. If you see all this information, like the competitor comparison, purchasing contacts, I mean, we're not going to be using the sort filter or the sort drop down. We're not going to be using the nested toggle or the search. So one suggestion I put in the Slack is to just remove them or disable them when you go into a nested table. Um, and then my other thought is that if you know you're going for speed and creating a nested table takes too much time, it may be worth temporarily just putting all this stuff in a big fat modal, which really does solve the whole like you don't have access to these tools and you can't really use these tools in this view. So something to consider. I think that's basically everything. If I go back to this page, you'll see that I wrote notes for each one in terms of like, you know, what is a percentage prototype? Like expanding a parent will show the percentage of their share from the total. So you can use as a reference if needed. And then for this particular prototype, this section is like the flow for like looking for L3, and this section is the flow for looking for L4. And then I wrote down a note of like hit the 3 key to access this path in the prototype, or hit the 4 key. And you would hit these keys when you hit like this particular mock-up here where you see a text cursor, because that's when you choose either go this way or this way. But yeah, I hope that that's everything that I hope I answered all your questions while going through this. Happy to hop on a call and discuss it further. But thank you for being patient for the designs. Some stuff came up, and I just kept finding more and more things I had to like tweak and fix. But I think that in the future, iterating on this would be really fast. Or if you want to personally work on it, it'll be pretty fast. Cool. Thank you.